everybody, welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Lindsay and I'm the owner of Sublime Soul Crochet, where I crochet plushies, clothing, accessories, and more. Today is going to be exciting because this is part one of my No Sew Grumpkin tutorial. You've been following me on Instagram at Sublime Soul Co. You've seen this design and I will just show you a little glimpse. So here we have their completely no sew is completed in order and crocheted in the round. Crochet 4 is optional edging to your pumpkin base. My pattern and my design, I've worked with my testers to make a very detailed video tutorial. The feet construction are different than any I've seen before. This is prompted me to make this tutorial, and I figured, well, if I'm gonna work on the feet, I might as well make the whole thing. I will show you what supplies you'll need. First, you'll need some type of yarn. I'm going to be using Premier Basic Chenille Brights in the colors Emerald and Tangerine. I would say you only need about one of the pumpkin color, and depending on the base color, you may need two. So it depends on your tension. So if you have a little extra of each color, or especially the body color, good to hold on to just in case. Next thing we'll need is a crochet hook. I'm going to be using an I9 5.5 millimeter. Need a stitch marker. Boop. Using two 20 millimeter hand-painted safety eyes. These ones were made by none other than Lanatana Charms. You need a safety eye jig. I use mine that I got from Susan of Crojo Mojo. Highly recommend that one. It's very easy to use. He sells some that just have the pushback and other ones of that nature. You could do it by hand. This tutorial will be in US terminology, so being familiar with the US versions of single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, as well as being comfortable working in both the front and back loops. Another thing that will be helpful to know is how to do a 3 single crochet increase. A regular increase, you do 2 stitches in 1 single crochet increase. That's what I'm calling it anyways. I know other designers will call it something else. Make 3 single crochets in 1 singular stitch. We'll also be working an unfinished puff stitch. That's what I'm calling it, for the pout of the Grumpkin. So basically what we'll do, and I'll go into depth further when we get to that point, we'll be working a puff stitch across multiple stitches. We will not complete any of them until the very end. We are going to start off with our base body color. We're ready to get started. Don't forget your pair of scissors as well, and a darning needle if you have that. We'll first be working on the arms. Now, I'm a center pole gal, so that's what I'll be doing. It's easier, especially if you have pets. Feel free to use your yarn however you'd like. I'm in frame, I believe I am. So we're gonna start off with the arms. We're gonna make 2 of them. Just made a slip knot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the yarn around, wrap it, and how we have what looks like an O with a line through it. We're gonna pull that center strand of yarn through and up. More than welcome to do the chain 2 method. So as opposed to a magic circle, you will chain 2, and then in the second chain from the hook, you will work all the required stitches. I know that helps with certain yarns, especially Parfait Chunky, where it is thinner and has a tendency to shed more, to do the magic circle. So instead of pulling that center piece all the way, I'm only going to do it about half. So we have this loop still. I'm going to chain 1. And for the first round, we're going to work 6 single crochets. So wrap your yarn, pull through 1, pull through 2. And we're going to repeat that 6 times until we get to the end of the round. The end of round 1, and I'm going to show you how to tighten your work. So very gently, you're going to pull on your tail and it should close. You might have to be careful. I know sometimes you might have to flip your tail so it's facing you. It's on the other side of the circle. But once you get that done, we're going to be working into the first stitch for round 2. Round 2, we'll be placing an increase into each of the 6 stitches for a total of 12 stitches at the end of round 2. And just to show you again, we'll put our stitch marker. I like to do it in the first stitch of the round. That way I know where I have to begin. Some people put it in the last stitch of the round previous. It's completely up to you, but this is what helps me keep track. So to do an increase, we're going to do 1 single crochet followed by another single crochet in the same stitch. So we're going to repeat that for all 6 stitches around. I will meet you at the end of round 2. Here we are at the end of round 2, and you can see we are coming back to our stitch marker, marking the first round. Just double check, make sure you have a stitch count of 12. If not, you can rework some stitches, make sure you have 12. Rounds 3 through 8, you will just single crochet around. So you will have at the end of rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, a total of 12 single crochets. It helps to move your stitch marker to the next round, but if it's easier for you to do so, just simply count the rounds up from the first. So for example, you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Everybody has their own technique, so I don't like to tell people exactly what to do. Just show them what works for me. So keep your tension relatively the same as when you started, because otherwise your arm can look a little warped. We don't want that. Maybe 12 to 18 inches of slack between your yarn and what you're working on. So slack just refers to this little bit of extra working yarn. You don't want it to become too tight to where your ball's sliding in front of you. You want to make sure that you have enough room to complete the round. We'll meet up with you at the end of round 8. I would like to add as well, if you see me single crocheting, it is a little bit different than what I explained on how you make one. I just wrap my yarn around and then pull immediately through the 2 loops. That's not necessarily how you're supposed to do it. You are supposed to wrap your yarn around and pull 1 loop up and then pull through 2, but I just think it's kind of redundant because you're going to have to pull through 2 anyways. It's the same, but again, feel free to do as you wish. Also, when I'm working so many rounds where I don't have to worry about stitch count, I like to keep my marker in that first stitch and then count the rows up from there so I know how many I'm doing. So for example, I put the stitch marker in the first stitch of round 3. So where this hangs right here, you can tell that that is round 3. Then we have 4, 5, and now I've just started 6. This is what helps me keep track. Again, feel free to move them as you wish, making the feet and especially the body and face. I will need to move the stitch marker each round, but for something simple like the arms where it is the same stitch, I don't have to worry about increasing anymore or decreasing. That's just what I prefer to do. Just double check. You can always take the stitch that's closest to your hook and work backwards just to make sure, or you can have that be the last stitch of your count. I'm going to do it so it's the first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So forgot to add, you will need a polyfill. That's probably important. A little section here, and I'll show you how much you'll probably need for the arms. I like to eyeball it in this little clump, something that's small enough that it can sit in the palm of your hand. Stuffing once you reach round 5, just so the arm has some flexibility when you attach it over top the pumpkin base, but feel free to do so according to your personal preference. For round 9, what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet in the first stitch of the round just to make it even. And we are going to fold our work in half like so and place 6 single crochet across. So we will go through both sides at the same time, and this will essentially close the arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. To finish off, I know you've seen that in a lot of patterns, maybe you haven't. To finish off your work, you're going to essentially chain 1, and then we are going to leave a relatively small tail because we will be crocheting them into the body. Optional. I like to use them only for the sake of making sure that my work is secured. So once I work this arm, and I cut about maybe 6 to 8 inches, arm is crocheted in the round, I like to leave this tail outside of my work so I can go in and sew again through the work, just to add that extra level of stability. So we are going to repeat rounds 1 through 9 until we have 2 arms that look identical to this. When you've done so, I will see you soon. We've reached the end of round 8. We have 12 stitches. Just double check. You can always put it beside the other arm just to make sure you have similar tension and you did not forget a round, because I have done that myself many a time. We're going to take a little bit of stuffing, fill up the end of the arm, remove our stitch marker, and repeat round 9 again. So single crochet 6 stitches across so that it's flat. In 1 and cut the tail about that long. Now Premier Basics Brights has a little bit of shedding, but again, not as much as Parfait Chunky. If you were going to use Parfait Chunky for this pattern, I would say use anywhere from a 3.75 millimeter to a 5 millimeter hook. Tension, I tend to be looser, so I will be on that smaller end of the scale of the 3.75 millimeter for that yarn, just because of how thin it is. I have a tendency when I have loose tension to create those little holes. To relieve yourself of having to go in after the fact and embroider them closed, which is a hassle depending on how much yarn you have, that will alleviate you of said problem. I want to show you, for example, how they'll look. So when you have, say this is the pumpkin base, and we're going to be working upwards towards the head, the arms will sit like this over top the edge of the pumpkin, and they will hang forward towards you. But now we're going to be working on our ears. So for these, you will make 2 as well. Skin color of your choice, you will make 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Beginning in the second chain from the hook, we're going to place 3 single crochets. So working not in this stitch, but in this one. 1, 2, 3. You'll have 1 stitch left of this row. In this stitch, we are going to place a 3 single crochet increase. So we will place 3 single crochets into this 1 stitch. And essentially what that'll do is it will work us from being on this side of the chain to this side. So we'll go 1, 2 will be the middle, and 3. Naturally, your work will turn when that does that, but just be sure, turn your work, and now we're going to be working along the opposite end of the chain. You can also work in your tail, so in order to do that, you just go over that and include that essentially with that you're working into. So you will be working as if that is all one piece. Now going on the other side of the chain, we are going to place 3 single crochets. So not in that same stitch as the 3, we're going to be working in the next stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. So here is the end of row 1, and I say row 1 because we're not going around. We are instead going back and forth. So to help you, once I complete the next stitch, that will be the first, I'll put the stitch marker in. So for row 2 of the ear, we are going to place 4 single crochets across. So we are going to single crochet into that first stitch, place our marker just so we don't forget. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you should arrive at what was the second stitch of the 3 single crochet increase from the previous round. So it'll be exactly in the middle. So into that stitch, we are going to place another 3 single crochet increase. So in this center stitch here, we are going to place 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. It helps you to know which one is the center. You can always pull a little bit on the loop, or you could put a stitch marker there. You shouldn't need to because the rows are relatively small, but again, if that helps you, feel free. And then working into the other side, you should have 4 single crochets left. So we are going to place 4 single crochets down. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, we are going to chain 1 again and turn our work. This will be row 3. So we are going to place 5 single crochets down. So I'm not sure if you can see the pattern, but we're going to work up until we get to that center stitch. And we're going to place a 3 single crochet increase and then 5 stitches down. Row, I should say, when you do a 3 single crochet increase, each side will increase by 1 stitch. And that way you will have still the center stitch to separate. Each one, the first was 3, the second was 4, the third one will be 5. And 5. Now we are at that center stitch. So we're going to place the 3 single crochets into that 1 stitch. And working down, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 4 and 5. So your ear should look something like this. If you've ever made a wearable, it's sort of like a bra cup on a crochet halter top, if you will. But we're working amigurumi, so it's a goblin ear. Now we're going to turn our work and gently fold the ear, placing 2 single crochets through both edges of the work. Fold our ear like this. so that the fold is facing to our right, or if you are opposite-handed, do it the direction that is easiest for you. We are going to chain 1, and across this little edge, we are going to place 2 single crochets, exactly even, because we are working over top 3 rows, but we are just going to place 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. Now we're going to finish off and leave a small tail, if you'd like. The first tail you can cut because we worked over that, but if you'd rather sew it in first, feel free to do that. If you'd like to sew in all the ends of your work first, again, you can do that. I just prefer to have them as a little extra security and to reinforce those stitches after I crochet them in the round. This will be the front side. This will be obviously the side that we just finished with the 2. And this will be the back of the ear. Everything will be facing towards you. Keep that in mind when you are crocheting them in the round. The way that you attach the right ear is going to be different than the way you attach the left ear. So when you attach the right ear in the round, you're going to work this way. If you were to do that when you're also working the left ear, you would have one ear facing that way and one ear facing this way. That you're going to flip the ear, so that way once you do this side, 2 single crochets, you work the amount of stitches in the face, you're going to flip the ear so that both openings are facing towards you. I hope that makes sense. Please let me know if you need any more explanation. I'm more than happy to help you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make the second ear. You're going to do it the exact same way. Again, the only thing that will change is how you flip the ear when you're crocheting it in the round. The ears don't have to be a certain way for the left side versus the right side. It's the exact same thing. It's just the placement of when you're crocheting them that matters. The second ear, please repeat rows 1 through 4, and I will check in with you after. I've just finished the second ear, and this is what I'm talking about. So when you're crocheting in the round, you work usually counterclockwise, could be clockwise depending on if you're left-handed. So you're going to put the ears in before you do the face. So before you crochet the pout, the nose, and before you place any of the safety eyes, felt eyes, embroider, what have you. These are going to be the first part of the face that you insert, so you want to make sure that they're facing the correct way. So the openings of the ears, the arms, and then the feet once they're done. Probably the most difficult part of the pattern you are going to encounter on this journey, the feet. My testers told me that the written instructions that I had for the pattern, originally this was all just going to be a written pattern, were detailed, but also they were vague at the same time. Didn't really correspond with the photos that I gave. So once I re-clarified how you get to a certain point, for example, you're going to work the toes. And as you work the toes, they are going to unintentionally stack on top of each other. And if you're not careful when you're working the following rounds after the fact, your foot will look deformed, to put it nicely. Consistently in the round, we are going to have to change some of the ways that we do the stitch counts. Again, I hope my explanations are going to be easy for you to understand. If you need further explanation, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to add that into part 2. So, for the feet, we're going to make 2. And in the skin color, we are going to make a slip knot and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And in the third stitch from the hook, we are going to place 6 half double crochet. So not this stitch, but in the very last one right before your tail, 6 half double crochet. Now in order to do that, we're going to wrap our yarn around, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We are going to slip stitch into that first stitch. Now, just to make sure you're not forgetting one, we're going to count back from the stitch that's closest to our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to slip stitch right there. You'll have this little ring. We're going to chain 4. We're going to be working on the second toe, 2, 3, and 4. We'll also be working in the third stitch from the hook. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to work into this stitch that I'm pulling right here with my right thumb. This one that's right before will be unworked. You will leave that entirely alone, and I will show you why after. So in the third stitch from the hook, we're going to repeat the exact same thing, 6 half double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, 3 half double crochet, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet of the round, like so. And you can already see the second toe, which is the middle toe of the 3, is already kind of stacked on top of the other one. That wasn't intentional, by the way, but I do want to just let you know that if your work looks like this, you are doing it correctly. When I designed this, it was sort of on the fly and I figured it out as I went. So it is a little bit different than the typical bobble stitch toes or working separate and then connecting them after the fact. You're doing it all as one piece, so it is a little more complicated, which requires you to pay a little extra attention. If you need more in-depth explanation, please let me know. I'm more than happy to, again, go in depth because I'm truly honored that you would even consider recreating one of my designs. Done is so far we've made the first toe. We have a chain 1 that we didn't work into, and then a second toe. The chain 1 is that leftover chain from the chain 4, making the second toe. We're going to repeat that step for round 3. So we are going to chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in the third stitch from the hook, we're going to place 6, we're going to place 6 half double crochets. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Leave that last chain unused and slip stitch into that first half double crochet. And again, your work will sort of look like this. It'll be little off-center bulbs make to look like toes. So the way that I do this is we are going to gently push out each of the toes. So what I mean by that is, see how they almost look like Cheerios or Fruit Loops right now in the area that's facing you? You're going to push on your work so it makes this little bulb, almost like a finger puppet. Essentially what you're doing is just flipping the work inside out towards you. So now you have 3 little humps. What we have total right now that we are going to continue working in are 6 half double crochets in each of the 3 toes, which will be 18 total. And we have 2 unworked chains in between the first and second toe and the second and third toe. So we're going to place a stitch marker in the first half double crochet of the previous round when we work. What we're going to do is we're going to work around the entire foot, working into every single stitch and chain. But that does not mean we are going to work 6 and then the next, 6 and then the next. No, because we are on the side of the foot right now, where our hook is. We'll consider this middle toe to be the front and center. We're only going to work 3 stitches for this side of the toe, okay? Similar to how we did the ear, we're only going to work on one side. Then once we're through with this side, we're going to turn our work and do the other side. For me, I am going to work 3 single crochet, 1, put a stitch marker there, 2, and 3 single crochet. Now I'm at the point of the first now unworked chain. So we're going to place 1 single crochet into that chain. Might be a little tough, so just make sure you're going into the chain. Now we're going to work over the top of the middle toe. So again, splitting 6 in half, what do you get? 3. 3 on each side. This toe is the one that we will be working to turn our work. You won't have to stop and do 1 chain in between. That's going to be the turning point. Single crochet, 1 single crochet in that chain. Now we're going to work 3 single crochet at the top of toe number 2. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to place a single crochet in between the next toe, like so. Now we're at the other side. So when we work this toe, it's going to bring us to this other side. So we are just going to do 6 single crochets around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Split it up because all we're doing is we're just rotating our work. Now, keeping in mind that we already did 3 single crochets for both of these, we're going to again go into that chain, place 1 single crochet, and now over the bottom of this toe, we're going to place 3 single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go into the other side of the other chain and place a single crochet like so. And then we are going, it might be a little tight, but what we're going to do is place 3 single crochet to finish off what was the first toe. Also only has 3. We need each one to have 6. And make sure your work should look something like this at the end of round 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, a single crochet into that chain, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into that chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 into that toe, single crochet into that chain, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into that chain, 1, 2, 3. So you should arrive with a stitch count, excuse me, of 22 stitches. For round 5, we are going to work just normally in the round. Now that we've established the foundation from the 3 individual toes, it should all be the same level. There should be no stacking going on still in your foot. So if that's the case, make sure you have the right amount of stitches in each toe. So again, your stitch count will be 22. You can kind of duck your tail if you don't want to cut it or sew it in. You can, and from the front view, it will look like this, and that will be what faces you in the upcoming assembly. We're going to place a repeat of 2 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we're going to do that 5 times followed by a decrease in the last. I will take you through this again because the feet were the most difficult for my testers. I want to make sure that I take care of any issue that could possibly come up. So we're going to work all these rounds in real time. To do so, we're going to place 2 single crochet, 1 in the first, and we're going to move our stitch marker. We have 1, 2, and then to do a decrease, we're going to go into the next stitch and into the next stitch. So we're going to go into 2 stitches total and do a decrease. So that will take it from being 2 stitches now to just 1. So we're going to repeat that sequence another 4 more times. So 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease. And then you should have 2 stitches left. So what you're going to do is do 1 more decrease. And that should leave you with a stitch count of 16. So double check your work and we will begin on round 6. For round 6, this one is relatively easy. We're going to do 14 single crochet followed by a decrease. So we're going to do 14 single crochet in a row. 1, move our stitch marker, 12, 13, 14, and you should have 2 stitches left. So you're going to place a decrease. Go into the first, pull up a loop, go into the second, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. So now you'll have a stitch count of 15 stitches. For the next round, we're going to do a combination of decreases and half double crochet. Double crochet decrease if you'd like. If it's easier for you to do the single crochet decrease, you can do that too. Whatever way you feel comfortable is how you can do that. I'm going to try to keep it with the half double crochets, but again, if it's easier for you to do that the other way, you can. So the decreases will end up on both sides of the feet, here and here. If you need to do it so they're here, adjust the amount of half double crochets in between. We are going to have 2 decreases. So we are going to place 3 half double crochet, followed by a decrease over 2 stitches. Then we're going to place 6 half double crochets, two, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that should end up almost the exact opposite of where your first decrease was. Again, just eyeball it. Place a decrease and then 2 half double crochets to end the round. You should only have 2 stitches left, but depending if you had to add more in order to get them into the center, you can adjust for that change. We are going to work for round 8, 3 single crochets into the next 3 stitches, crochet into the first, move our marker, single crochet into the second, and single crochet into the third. We're going to place a decrease across the next 2 stitches. So it should stack almost on top of the decrease of the previous round. We're going to place a single crochet followed by an increase into the next stitch. 1 and 2 into the same. 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, a decrease, and 1 single crochet in the last. So your increase will be somewhere along the back of the foot now. So this will be the front. You will end up with a stitch count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stitches. So for round 9, we're essentially going to be placing our increases in this stitch and this stitch. So they will be the middle of the back. You can line it up according to the center toe, like I'm doing. And that's how I get these 2 stitches. So depending on your tension, it might be a different stitch count, but for me, I'm going to place a single crochet into the first stitch, followed by a decrease across the next 2. And then in these next 2 stitches that I've loosely marked, we're going to place an increase in both. So 1 and 2, and 1 and 2 single crochet into each of those. So you have a total of 4 single crochet into those 2 stitches. Then we will place another decrease into the next 2, like so. And then we will crochet the rest of the round. So for me, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 stitches. So I will work 4 more single crochet. 2, 3, and 4. And you should have a stitch count of 11 stitches because you've added 2 decreases, but you've also added 2 increases. It levels each other out. You're starting to form this little area in the center of the middle toe towards the end of the foot. And that is going to be used to attach your foot to the pumpkin base in the future. What we're going to do now is we're going to place a decrease across the first 2 stitches. We're going to move our marker here. And we're going to, in the next 4 stitches, those ones that were a part of the 2 increases, we're going to place 4 front loop only single crochet. So normally in crochet you have the 2 loops. You have the back loop here and the front loop. We are only going to be working into the front loop of the next 4 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook so we only pull up that one part of the loop and just do a single crochet as normal. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You could see there's a little bit of a ridge here, so your work will slightly lean forward on this round, and that's important for closing it and attaching it to the body. Place a decrease in the next 2 stitches and finish it off with 3 single crochet. So you should have a stitch count of 9. Now I'm going to pull my loop out a little bit just to show you again how your foot will look. So this will be the portion that will face you once you attach the pumpkin. This will actually be the part that you crochet into the body, and this will be the bottom of the foot. I know I didn't stuff it before because I wanted to show you how the foot would look unstuffed. But now we're going to very lightly stuff the entire foot. I would say up to round 9 if you want to have a fuller foot. If you don't want to, you can stop after, say, round 7 or 8. I like to have it be a little bit round, but not too much. It'll look like this. I'm going to get my darning needle and I will show you how to close up the foot. I like to use the metal ones because you don't have to worry about them getting bent, tangled, or even snapping in your work, as the plastic ones have a habit of doing, but they have their own use. Going to take your needle and I would pull out about a foot's worth for a tail. We're going to remove our stitch marker. And before we do that, we are going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the round and finish off. So chain 1, pull your yarn through and give it a little tug. A little hard to see because I have chosen probably the darkest green that I could have done for the feet. You can see the way that I've folded those 4 stitches. You see how there is that extra ridge here? That is the back loop of those 4 stitches. So when we're closing our work, we are only going to work in the 5 stitches that are regular and those 4 little humps. So that way you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 stitches facing outwards that then you will attach to the pumpkin. Let's thread our needle. And very carefully, we are going to work into that first stitch. And we're going to pick up that back loop of the first front loop single crochet, the second one. And we're going to just very, very lightly pull. Now we're going to go into an opposite direction. If you've ever done I believe it's a mattress stitch closer, that's what we'll be doing. So we'll be going into the back loop of that third front loop only, very gently, and into the fourth. If it helps, you can always pull on those 4 stitches just to make sure that you're not fully enclosing those. Then we're going to work into the next several stitches as normal. So that way, when we fully tighten our work, we will have this little lump of 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. Now you can take this, pull that forward, run your needle through, and close up the foot as you would normally do if you weren't holding on to these 4 stitches. Because you want to make sure that the stuffing isn't going to fall through, the foot's not going to come undone, but you also want to make sure, again, that you keep those 4 front loop only single crochets out and easily accessible because they're going to look like this. And when you attach, it almost makes this little ankle, and you're going to single crochet these into the pumpkin. So once you have done that, and you've made sure that those 4 stitches are accessible while also closing off the remainder of the foot, you're going to thread your yarn through as normal and finish off however you choose. I know some people like to tie and thread it fully through, stuff it in with their hook. Others like to just cut it off after a while. However you'd like to close your yarn and get rid of this tail, you may do so once you have ensured that the foot is closed and you have those 4 stitches accessible. Looking down at the back of the foot, this will be the front of your foot. This is obviously your top. And these are the 4 stitches that will be used in the round when making your grumpkin. Attach your second foot using 4 more stitches, and then finish off the round of the body. Then the rest of it will be seamless. Again, I hope this helps, and please be sure to repeat rounds 1 through 10 of the foot. If you have any additional questions, again, or you'd like me to go in depth when it comes to creating the toes and how to seal off your foot, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to make another video. And until then, I will see you in part 2. Have a good day. Happy crocheting.